Well, thank you, Eric, and good morning. There are a few spots in the state here with some fog this morning, but in general, it's a gorgeous. It certainly is here in East Lansing, and I think it is in most areas. Temperatures this morning under Canadian high pressure from the mid 40s in the far north to some mid 50s, but just another beautiful day. And I guess the short of it is, at least for the forecast, we've got a couple more where that came from. If you're wondering, I do want to start though here by looking into last week, some review, and we did have another severe weather outbreak here during the day on Tuesday, the afternoon and evening hours. The image you see here depicts some of the events during that day. Most of the problems were associated with high winds. Trees down. There were about 100,000 people who lost power. But with this one, there were some large hail. The meteorologists refer to them as hailers. There definitely were a couple here. You can see the damage here. The green triangles are actually reports of large hail, 1 inch or larger. We did have several reports of 2-inch hail in Michigan, and even a couple of 2.5-inch in Lake Osceola, Wexford counties were in particular. And if you look at the actual pattern here of these individual events, you can see the cells that were individually responsible for these. One going across central lower Michigan here from west to east. Here's another one just to the south of that. And then there was another one that went across southwestern lower Michigan. Again, that's all related to the same original complex of thunderstorms. Most of these were due to, a couple things. We had a strong upper trough, which is what brought us the cool air here over the last couple of days, moving through a loft. And then we had very warm and humid conditions on the surface, a surface cold front, all those things that can lead and combine to cause severe weather. All those ingredients were there on Tuesday, unfortunately. But again, it probably could have been worse than it was. But a little bit unusual to see that in the fall, not completely crazy, but something we more often see earlier in the year. For the past week here, given especially the cooler temperatures as of late, you can see on the left-hand side here, our mean temperature departures for the week were generally cooler than normal, from about 1, maybe 2 degrees to as much as 4 degrees as you go up into western upper Michigan. So the beginning of September here anyway has trended out to be a little cooler than normal. That follows, of course, a very warm August. On the right-hand side here, our total precipitation, actually fairly widespread. There were a couple of exceptions to this, but most areas picked up at least a 1/2 inch, many cases more than 3/4 of an inch. You can see an area here along the I-96 corridor that got much less. Locally here in the East Lansing area, for example, just about a 1/4 of an inch fell, but most areas did better than that here for the week. Our growing degree day units, the seasonal totals here on the left-hand side, even though it was a little cooler than normal, we did keep our surpluses, and then on the right-hand side, you can see most areas of the state still have a very, very significant surplus. Some cases as much as 300 base 50 units, which is pretty significant or sizable for this time of the year. Again, a lot of that accumulation, the buildup of that surplus, a lot of that took place in August due to very, very mild nighttime temperatures, and things moved along phenologically rapidly. And if I have a research project here on campus looking at some moisture and dry down issues with corn, and it's been amazing over the last couple of weeks to see how quickly things have changed. If you haven't looked, take a peek out there and look. Things are moving rapidly, and again, a lot of it has to do with the surplus in degree days. We also have one of the treatments in our plot is an 89-day hybrid that was planted in the middle of May here, and it just reached black layer here officially yesterday. At least some of the plots did. So things are moving along quickly. Want to just mention, I talked about that warm August. And if we look at long-term trends, it's interesting, a little bit of perspective. This is looking at the whole state of Michigan, and this is looking at changes in mean maximum temperature here during the summer. So this is June, July, and August on the left-hand side here, and then trends in minimum temperature on the right-hand side. And just to illustrate a little bit of what we saw here in August, if you look at the one on the left-hand side with maximum temperatures, there's not a whole lot, maybe a little bit of a slight upward trend that's taken place here over the last few decades, but nothing really significant or really noteworthy or strong for that particular variable. But look at minimum temperature here. Again, looking at this, the numbers are a little bit small, but what you can see here is a steady increase in our nighttime or our overnight minimum temperatures here that began about 50 years ago and continues up to the present. So the minimum temperatures are getting warmer with time, and that was very evident in August. And the range between the daytime and nighttime is also decreasing with time. That's been observed in other places, but that's certainly true here in Michigan. So a lot of this, there is overall warming, but a lot of it's occurring at night. At least it has over the last few decades. Well, moisture here, back to the current time frame. And where does this last week leave us? Well, about the same as where we were last week, and that is where we've got some drier spots, although it's not a major issue in the western upper peninsula and across portions of southern lower Michigan here recently, but still have surpluses in plant available moisture, plant extractable moisture in the northern lower. And again, the map has looked a lot like this for the last several weeks now. On the left-hand side here, at least the evaporative demand and looking at vegetation condition, the dryness has gotten a little bit worse or intensified a bit in the western half of upper Michigan. But besides that, most areas are really in pretty good shape at this time of the year. Looking ahead at our forecast and our outlook here, really a pretty straightforward forecast. On the weather map this morning, these big blue H's, that's that Canadian origin air mass that I talked about and arrived on Tuesday with at least the leading edge of it with the severe weather. That's going to be around with us for at least another couple days. And as long as it's here, we can count on more of the same. Another, mostly sunny and dry day today. Fair, we'll call it fair because it is an exception to this. And also very breezy. Again, that has to do with some of the upper air, the big trough over the top of us. And with that trough there's some cold air aloft. And so as the day goes on and we heat up, and remembering now that the lakes are still pretty warm for this time of the year, we will get, just like we saw yesterday, we will see some showers form, but we're going to call it isolated. I don't even think it'll make it to scattered 30% coverage, hit and miss there. And it will be primarily across northern parts of the state. I think if we do see any showers at all, you'll see some clouds with a little bit more vertical extent this afternoon and evening, but most places will remain dry. So we certainly can't cancel that out. That's typically what we see here. Remember, it's September, it's Michigan, we're downwind of the lakes in a lot of cases, and that's the kind of thing we see more and more often during the fall. So this is a little bit of a hint of that with the cold air aloft. But that said, most places will see a nice, fair and dry day here today one more time. Tomorrow, Friday, we can take the chance of showers out. The high pressure is right over the top of us. And so for basically statewide, we'll call it a sunny and dry day. Once again, it'll be a couple degrees warmer tomorrow. We'll be looking at highs today only in the upper 60s north to the low 70s south. So a few degrees below normal from where we should be at this time of the year. And another cool night tonight. Temperatures down in the 40s. To maybe low 50s in the south. So a few degrees remaining below normal, a little bit warmer tomorrow. And then you can see here on the left-hand side here, the next weather system approaches to our north. This is Saturday morning. You can see that as a frontal boundary here, but it's going to be moisture starved, not much to work with in terms of water. We will see some, and again, I will call it again, isolated showers possible in northern parts of the state, but most of the state on Saturday should be dry. And the other thing, with the high pressure moving off to our east and with return flow out of the southwest, we'll call it increasing southwesterly winds. It's going to bring some warmer air in here, and we will see mid-80s again, at least in southern parts of the state. A little bit cooler than that, low 80s in the north, but it will be significantly warmer both on Saturday and again on Sunday. And then finally, going beyond this, the frontal boundary makes its way through overnight, late Sunday into Monday. That would be, again, a chance of showers in southern parts of the state, but probably no more than a 20 or 30% chance at best. So you might be asking, well, when will there be a chance of anything significant rainfall-wise? I think the answer probably would be overnight Monday into Tuesday, and then continuing on a daily basis. The middle of next week looks like the next best chance for anything widespread or significant for most of the state. And I think that's, we probably, most areas will be drier than normal for the upcoming week, but most of the precipitation that falls will be, again, several days out, 4, 5, 6, 7 days out. Here's the total for that time frame through next Thursday morning. Most spots less than, quarter to half inch type range. And again, the vast majority of what you see here on the map will be next week from overnight Monday into Wednesday and Thursday. So dry short term with increasing chances for rain as we move then into next week. Potential evapotranspiration rates. This actually, I've got the wrong date range on here. This is actually for the upcoming week, not for the 2nd to the 8th. But given the cooler than normal temperatures here early, probably at or a little bit below long-term climatological normals. The total for the week here, you can see ranges from about 3/4 of an inch in the northern part of the state to about 1.1 inches in the far south. So again, just a tad below what we would typically see for this time of the year. It will matter most here again over the next several days, but then water or rainfall is expected once again next week. Looking beyond this in the medium range forecast guidance, there are some changes suggested by the medium range forecast, certainly with regard to temperature. But if you look here at the forecast jet stream pattern, this is out to the 16th through the 22nd, you can see a little bit of a change because right now we've got a big trough over the Great Lakes region. That will be moving out here this weekend, and it'll be replaced by a more flat west to east type of flow pattern next week. But beyond that, and that's what I want to really focus on here, beyond that, note you can see the beginning maybe of a troughing feature over western North America, and then a little bit of a ridging feature over the central and eastern part of the U.S. That's sort of where we're headed for the latter part of the month, which would suggest a return once again of warmer than normal mean temperatures. And so both 6 to 10 day and 8 to 14 day outlooks are fairly consistent here in calling for warmer than normal. So while September has begun a little bit cooler than normal, the odds are that we will see a flip-flop during the middle of the month and then move to warmer than normal later on. Precipitation's a little bit more of a difficult variable here, at least in terms of the forecast. Some of the outlooks, like the one you see here for the 8 to 14 day outlook, suggest drier than normal conditions. We also see some signals for wetter than normal conditions. So I would say basically not much confidence in either direction. Certainly there is, I think, with temperature, but not so much for precipitation. The 6 to 10 day outlook actually does suggest a little bit above normal precipitation for, at least for the latter part of next week. But then beyond that, for the not this weekend, but the one following it, you can see drier than normal weather here indicated. So I would not put much faith in precipitation outlook at this point, at least for the next couple weeks. The only thing, again, I would bank on would be the above normal mean temperatures. So summarizing here, wrapping things up, fair, dry, actually pretty pleasant, beautiful weather here for the short term. There will be a couple of isolated showers, mainly, again, northern areas of the state here this afternoon. Tomorrow looks dry statewide. And then some scattered rainfall activity once again possible this weekend, but that's the exception rather than the rule. Most of the greatest chance for precipitation will hold off until next week. It also is going to get progressively warmer as we move into the weekend and then into early next week as well, with high temperatures back into the 80s once again, or at above normal levels. And as we've just seen here, most of the medium range forecast guidance does suggest that the latter half of September will turn warmer than normal again. It's probably positive news here. At least we think about dry down conditions in the field and maturation of our crops, our annual crops, and so forth. But that's certainly looks like the direction we're headed right now. And with that, I'm going to wrap up and move on to introduce our speaker next week, our virtual breakfast next Thursday, and that's Dr. Marisol Quintanilla, who's going to be talking with us. And if I can stay on the same slide here, Marisol is going to be talking with us about soybean cyst nematode. So don't miss that. Again, that's a week from this morning. And with that, I'm going to wrap up and turn it back over to Eric.